Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unconventional GMs. I'm one of your hosts, Gaz, and I will bring Odyssey Aquatica this evening. Or maybe it's the morning for you. Who knows? That's the beauty of YouTube. You can watch whenever you want. This is a series where we run games with vim and vigor. We try and get convention-style games packed in to 2 hours or less, and usually we succeed. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce the rest of the guys. If you've not seen any others out of the series of Odyssey Aquatica, there is a playlist. I heartily encourage you to go back and watch episodes 1 to 5 first. Otherwise, this won't make as much sense to you. But feel free to jump in anyway. So let's start off with my fellow unconventional GM, Jeremy St. John, for this game, Mr. Guy Milner.
Hello, yes, that's me. Yes, I'm Guy Milner from the Burn After Running blog, and also this Unconventional GMs. Yeah, obviously watch the previous 5 episodes. Otherwise, the complicated plot lines that we've developed over the past few hours might be lost on you. We may be overselling it there. So yeah, feel free to watch this and see if you can figure out what's going on. I'm playing Jeremy St. John, posh English Oxford Don, who I think through the previous 5 episodes, through many years, has been seduced by the lure of reality TV quite a bit, and so has become somewhat of a TV celebrity. His original research area of aquatic predators and prey has led to him making a barbecue cookbook and sort of cookery series. He's gone around and done Survivor sort of things where he's been dropped in a jungle, but he's trying still to present himself as a serious scientist despite all of this. So yeah, that's Jeremy St. John, chisel-jawed hero, or was a few episodes back. Maybe now is trying to settle down and take life a little bit more seriously. We'll see in the intervening hours whether that happens or not.
Excellent. So I'm going to go around in a random order of clockwise direction based on my screen, which puts Matt next. Who are you playing?
Hi, Matt Rycroft, long-term GM. I'm currently playing Elsa Carlson, who is a nerdy history fiend. Comes from Sweden. She has gone through a bit of a journey, has to be said. Estranged from her husband, but she's found love in the form of Hitesh, and they have moved in together, and they're bringing up her 2 children.
So that's a great segue to bring in Alex, who is playing Hitesh Kapoor.
Hello, my name's Alexander White. I am playing Hitesh Kapoor, undersea explorer who has really gone on a journey over our previous sessions. He's become an explosives expert, got involved in all kinds of strange political movements, traveled through time, but most importantly, and strangely enough, of course, he has also fallen in love. In our last session, due to an interaction with a strange kind of time stone that we found, he has aged prematurely and gone through quite the shift that I'm sure we can explore as we get.
Lovely stuff. And last but not least, we have Ian McAllister.
Hi, I'm Ian McAllister from the Giant Brain blog. I also run a podcast called Brainwaves about tabletop news, and one called Cult of the Old about older games. I'm playing Douglas McIntosh, an underwater cryptozoologist from Scotland who really wants to find the Loch Ness Monster. His brother had the only sort of known picture of the Loch Ness Monster that was meant to be realistic, but he always had doubts. But they have come together over the last few episodes, come to write articles together, come to write books together, and reconciled their differences over the course of the season. But our trip back in time showed him a glimpse of something that might be the Loch Ness Monster, and now Douglas is wondering if he can maybe find that portal again, travel back, and finally get that elusive evidence he's after.
Interesting times. And if you're out there in Watcherland, please do like, subscribe, and ring the bell, as that helps with the algorithms, gets the reach of the show a little bit wider, and may help some other people out with some hot tips from watching us play and run games. Okay, let's get into it. So the first thing we have to do is there's kind of an interstitial bit between each adventure where 1d6 years have passed, and we do some little bits and pieces, catch up on the characters, find out what they've been doing, and find some published works and things like that, have some reflections. So can someone roll for me 1d6, please, to determine how many years have passed? 5. Oh, there might actually be some quite old members of the crew now, no longer spring chickens. But yeah, let's go for it. So the first thing we'll try and determine, 5 years have passed since the magical time crystal adventure. You've got a published work each, which, as regular viewers will know, could be some sculpture some modern dance, a novel, anything you can think of at all. Might just be mad scrabblings on a cave wall, but you've published some kind of work. So if we go the same order, if we start with Guy and go to then Matt, Alex, and Ian, if you can tell us what your published work has been over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think Jeremy's fascinated still by the people from the past that he met on that island and has written what initially I think was meant to be a serious work about historical naval battles in the Age of Sail. And as such, he's just called The Age of Sail, but is very heavy on like photographs and sort of glossy pictures. The kind of hardcover book that you find in bargain bookstores up and down the country already. Not after that. It's heavy on sort of light on content. He assumed that he'd get a TV series again from it, but it's never materialized again. It's not even one they've started making and stopped this time. It's just not happened. He's still got like the sort of Napoleonic uniforms that he bought for it for filming, but that's the only reminder he has of the Age of Sail TV series that he was hoping to make. So yeah, The Age of Sail is my coffee table book that I've published.
Lovely.
Yeah, so Elsa has published a book which has actually been very, very popular, and embarrassed to admit it to Jeremy, but it actually has been picked up as a 3-part TV series. She's trying to keep a low profile because she knows it will anger him. Very much inspired by recent adventures. It's the Bermuda Triangle and Other Maritime Mysteries. And it kind of covers it from all angles, both everything back of disappearing ships in the past, as well as aircraft over World War II, and more modern disappearances. And she's woven in stories about sea monsters and other things that have been seen in the area, as well as the suggestion that things have passed back through time and been seen again. So yeah. As I say, it's actually really easy to get into, and it explains it in pretty good narrative, and it's been picked up. But she's not going to admit that openly to Germany. And
yeah,
made sure they keep it.
Picked up by the History Channel or something like that has the things about aliens inventing the pyramids and stuff.
Exactly, yeah. She doesn't care. It's been picked up. That's the important thing.
And they've really ramped up the time travel element of it and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're using special effects to drain the ocean and do all of that kind of weird and wonderful stuff. Yeah. But she's really quite worried that Jeremy's going to push her off the boat if he finds out that one of her throwaway books has been picked up on TV.
Well, thank goodness he's given up on technology and he uses like a mechanical typewriter and stuff and doesn't actually use any scientific devices.
Yeah, it's not the first time he's done a turnaround though, so who knows.
True. How about Hitesh?
Hitesh sadly has been dropped by the publisher of his last 3 monographs on kind of socio-political matters on the ocean depths, and has instead had to publish by the almost self-published Third Eye Press, who have put out his new book, What is the Fourth Dimension? Journeys Across Time, which is his sort of account of strange time distortions potentially caused by undersea currents. Many have called it pseudoscience, but others have argued that perhaps some of its ideas are compelling. Hitesh has also become something of a recluse, and so there are kind of, although he has put his own name on this book, there are lots of rumors about where he's gone, what he's done, and why this sudden left turn into, like I say, pseudoscience.
And how about Douglas?
So yes, Douglas has been intrigued about the possibility of traveling back in time again to see the Loch Ness monster he thought he caught a glimpse of in our last adventure. But obviously money is needed for such expeditions. And over the last couple of episodes, he's taken more of a leadership role occasionally and realized he's absolutely terrible at it. But he's poured that knowledge, that experience into a book called Overboard, All at Sea with Leadership. And that's caught fire on the corporate sort of leadership circuit. He's been doing tours, talks, making quite a bit of money on that circuit to fund further expeditions into a lot of the phenomena that Elsa's written about in her book. He's found that research quite interesting and is talking to her a lot about like various other places where such time vortexes might be found.
And I presume partly it's paid off the massive debt you incurred with your failed publishing a house from a few years ago, but it would be for a big.
I mean, the government knows about some of the money that's going to come in, I guess, but maybe not quite all of it.
All of it. Okay. Very good. So we were supposed to get some advances along the way. I don't know whether people have remembered or not, but if you haven't, I'm going to say you can all have another advance now as well. So,
Okay.
Bit of bookkeeping for you. So for listeners at home, it might be something like increasing the die value of something we've already got, or it could be a bunch of little widgets. So it's not like a massive deal, but it might be a little extra help for this adventure.
I'm going to add another area of research in this case, something like mystical sea phenomenon or words to that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to add another area of research. Is spatio-temporal distortion too broad, or is that allowed?
No, I think that's allowed.
I'm really gambling on there being more time stuff, because if there's not, neither my work nor my new research will be useful. But that's the fun of the game.
If you can say it, you can have it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Has to pronounce perfectly every time.
Oh yeah. Absolute audio dynamite when I trip over my words trying to say that again.
I've just increased the depth of my knowledge, no pun intended, on shipwrecks and maritime history, increasing it to D8.
Yeah, I've had another research, which is sort of research. I think I've put like obscure open water swimming and free diving techniques, which is probably the project that Jeremy's working on now. And based on every episode, him doing he seems to be swimming underwater pretty much every time we come across anything interesting. So he's picked up a few tricks about sort of Wim Hof stuff and things like that are of dubious safety. That he's gonna publish and have a podcast and stuff. It's gonna be massive.
Excellent stuff. Good. So any specialist training gear you had from last time you wipe off, but you can assign yourself 3 fresh ones for this expedition. So tick whichever boxes you want for that.
I'm going to take extra vehicle again, should we need that.
Okay. So the minute for vehicles on the boat, we've got a submarine and atmospheric diving suits. Are you still happy having those 2 and then whatever third one you want?
Yeah.
Do you want like aerial or do you want underwater? Do you want some aerial stuff this time?
It might be cool for the last session to have a balloon or a helicopter, but again, it's a bit of a gamble whether it'll be.
I'm going to go for helicopter.
Yeah, I think it's sweet.
Oh, helicopter sounds good.
Okay. Those endeavors really are paying off. It looks like we've got some real cash.
I'm going to slightly tweak that extra research to unexplained sea phenomenon. It feels a little bit more down Douglas's route of like weirdness rather than specifically mystical stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Good. So we're going to get to roll in a minute on some tables for your memoirs that you've been writing. But I think, actually, shall we do that first? Realistically, you should do your fellowship first, but I think it'd be more interesting to know what your memoirs are going to be before we do the fellowship phase. So let's do that. Okay, so is anybody out of all you people below 35 years of age? Or older than that? No, it's like life imitates art now around this table, isn't it? So anyone who's 35 to 55, then can you make some rolls for me? You want to roll 2d12 or 1d12?
Oh, I rolled a
1d 212. I guess.
That's definitely not right.
What a low roll, Ian. It's lucky it doesn't.
It's quite a roll considering, yeah. There we go.
Yeah. So that's everyone, isn't it? You're all in the same age bracket. Okay, and we've all got a different number, so I'm happy with that. So, Jeremy, you've had some kind of midlife crisis and changed up your life in a dramatic way.
Jeremy's whole life is a midlife crisis.
And you can read about it in his new book, Jeremy's Midlife Crisis.
Volume 3.
Well, I think that it'll go with his open water techniques. I think Jeremy is now vegan. He's, I think, probably raw vegan as well. He's planning to become some sort of health guru, and so has sort of changed his life around. And now, I think officially, obviously, is completely straight edge, clean living, raw vegan, doesn't have anything. There's maybe still the occasional, Douglas will maybe notice that that Scotch bottle still goes down every so often. But he makes sure there are no cameras nearby when he's doing that. So yeah, he's become a sort of fitness freak now that he's reached the grand old age of 45.
Lovely stuff. Hitesh, well, this could be poignant. A relationship with us So a relationship that's broken down, or perhaps you create a new connection with representing a bitter ex or something like that. What does that look like? Does it involve Elsa, or is it someone else?
Be careful what you say now.
Yeah, we might be taking it in a whole new direction.
Let's go for it.
I think it is good though. I think it is only right to pick Elsa given everything that's happened. Hitesh's whole kind of appearance and outlook have changed because he kind of aged prematurely in such a strange way and saw, all kinds of bizarre things beyond the veil of time. And so I think it's entirely kind of caused by Hitesh. He's become, extremely withdrawn, not just from the world, but from Elsa and her children too. He's still in their house, but he's sort of locked himself up in a room, writing, reminiscing, meditating, perhaps. Strange, maybe Elsa hears strange chants coming from in there. And he just sort of, I don't know, I think maybe Hitesh is starting to wonder if he belongs in this world now, given the things that he's seen.
I might switch two results around here because I think this could be interesting. So I'm not going to show you behind the screen, so you don't know. Maybe I haven't, maybe I haven't. But yes, for Elsa, how old are your children now? Because
Liam is 9 and Ingrid is 12.
Okay, because your family has grown. It could be children, could be pets, could be something else. But given that you've had a relationship with Hitesh, this could be very interesting. Like what's new to your family, or who is new to your family? Maybe.
I think we have had a child together over the last 5 years. If that's okay with Hitesh, just to make him feel even more like a monster. And I'll say that, we've got a little baby girl who is probably, let's say, 3 years old. So within the 5, so we've had a couple of years. There was a couple of years before she was born. I was in my early 40s, so who knows how old he is now? I've lost the plot as to how old he is, but certainly, we've got a little girl, Eva, and given what Hitesh is going through right now, I think I'm surrounding myself by my children, and they are keeping me sane right now. All right. I'm having to rely on the love that I get from my children and throwing myself into my career. Fortunately, the success of the book, don't tell Jeremy, has been a good distraction. But all the while, I'm looking into the closed door where Hitesh has locked himself away, wondering what I can do differently and wondering how self-destructive I can let him get before I have to walk away again.
Good. So
worth pointing out just quickly, Hitesh is only 52, which is older, but not that much older. So it's not like he's like an old wizened man.
That's true. He might do it again though. He might just randomly go to a 70
well, yeah,
and
exactly,
then a 90,
true.
And then who knows what he's going to do. But yeah, it's the changing of years in Hitesh's age was not that much of a problem. It's how he's reacting to it.
Yeah, I think it's a bigger problem for Hitesh than it is for Elsa. That's certainly how it feels.
It's a kind of a pull yourself together, man. You've got a family that you can support. So get out of that room, stop writing stupid books about time travel, and get back with the real world kind of thing.
Exactly.
Well, there's some possible meaty drama to come in today's episode, and this is an interesting one for Douglas. Given all his trials and tribulations, you've been recognised by the Oceanographic Adventures Alliance.
Oh, finally!
And they've added you to the Hall of Fame and unveiled a huge portrait of you. What is this in recognition of?
I think I did manage to get some actual footage of the Loch Ness Monster on our last trip, on our travels through time, and the film has come out okay, and it looks genuine, and the people are celebrating the finally footage of the Loch Ness Monster. I'm being a little coy about how it was captured and where it was taken, because if I say I went back in time and took it, people are going to ignore me. So as far as I'm concerned, it happened in Scotland, it happened at Loch Ness. But yeah, I've captured proper footage of a plesiosaur or something like that, and that they have they've been incredibly impressed. And like now, Loch Ness is a massive, even more so than now, is a massive tourist destination for people trying to find this thing.
Yeah, very, very much so. Okay, looks like your sister,
maybe causing some friction between me and my brother, though.
I was going to say your newly found sister and brother are going to be even more bitter towards you now, I would imagine. Excellent. So the last thing we have to do before we get to the adventure proper is do the fellowship phase, which is each one of you will ask someone else a question. You'll share a bit of back and forth, do a bit of role playing, and then you both get a bond with each other. So obviously everybody tries to ask someone different, so they end up in a big circle and you get an equal number of bonds shared around the group will be best. We'll start with Guy. Who's Jeremy? What's the scene? Who's Jeremy with, and what's he talking about? What's he asking?
I think this is possibly as we're loaded at the boat, ready to get out again, and there's a knock on the door of maybe Hitesh's cabin, and Jeremy is there. I'm saying, I can't noticing, old friend, you some chanting last night. I noticed you've been taking, is that a meditative practice you've adopted?
I'm wearing a big pair of kind of goggles with strange kind of crystal lenses that I pull up and off my face, and I say, "Oh, Jeremy, my friend, good to see you again. Yes, not something to worry too much about. I'm just merely exploring the sort of oral possibility for oral methods of travel through through unknown and unseen spaces. There's a wide variety of spectrums that we don't have access to, and I think that may be the cause of my journey last time we went away, shall I say, and I'm trying to figure out new ways to sort of navigate them."
Oh, that's fascinating. I too have been involved in journeys through time and through diet and exercise regimens. I believe I can travel through time as well to something which may be of interest to you. I can't help but notice the crow's feet and a few more grey hairs. But through diet, we can actually halt or even reverse the aging process. So we both seem to be on a journey.
It's very good that you're on a journey of self-discovery, my friend, but does it not worry you that the body is a crumbling vessel over which we have very little true control? Do you not worry that all your efforts will ultimately come to nothing when you find yourself at the whim of unfathomable forces, the ocean itself being just one of them?
No, the body is fantastic. The body's superhuman, in fact, once you unlock its true potential. All that you need to do is either right here. I've got a smoothie here. Actually, you should try this, Hitesh. This will help to we'll be taking time out at sea. Don't you always feel younger and more energized out there, away from the chemicals and the pollution? Drink some of this every morning. It'll clear you up and ease your mind and restore some of the body's natural healing powers to do the exploration of what the things you were talking about as well, from those with the goggles and stuff.
My friend, this drink looks disgusting. What's in it?
It's a complicated tincture of herbs, obviously raw to preserve their goodness, and not washed in any of the chemically addled water that we get on land. Just been dipped in the sea. I'd recommend drinking it quickly, and not inhaling through the nostrils as you do.
Well, how much can it hurt, I suppose? I gingerly take it and place it down on the desk as if it might bite me. And I say, my friend, I fear that we have grown apart as I've grown apart from everybody.
So no, nothing like the power of the sea to bring people together, is there? We'll soon be on the waves again, and all will be like it was before. And I'll clap Hitesh on the shoulder.
On that, I do agree. Despite everything that's happened, I do feel the need to come back here onto this vessel and onto this ocean. It's the times my life has made the most sense have been aboard this.
Indeed.
Very good. Well, let's skip forward then, Hitesh, if you want to ask or set up another scene. We're asking someone a question.
Yeah, if Matt is willing, I think it might be good to do a flashback scene, which I guess is kind of in the purview of this fellowship system. Last session, I should say, Hitesh rescued Elsa from a tent where she was being held on the strange island that we found ourselves washed ashore on, and we kind of cut away because Matt's character wasn't here. So it might be nice to cut back and maybe see that. Obviously, this is before Hitesh had all the weird time stuff happen, so they are more similar in age. He has not gone through this strange process, and perhaps perhaps both Elsa and Hitesh are reminiscing about this in the present, which is why we see it now.
Sure. Yeah, totally fine with that.
So yeah, I'll call that as my Bond scene. So yeah, Elsa's kind of, I don't think we went into lots of detail, but I think she was kind of somehow tied or chained up in this tent. Hitesh, there's chaos outside, pandemonium, cannon fire, you know, clearly all kinds of strange things are happening, and suddenly there's kind of a yell from outside, and Hitesh bursts through the tent flap, looking around wildly, kind of desperation and passion in his eyes. He says, "Elsa, oh, thank goodness that you're here."
Thank goodness that you're here. Could you untie me and get me out of here?
Yes, and he kind of charges towards her, and it looks like there's a moment when he's hesitating what he should do, kind of stuck between a wide variety of possible actions, and then he says, yes, perhaps I should untie you before we embrace. And he kind of takes a second.
Would make it easier, I'll say, somewhat exasperated.
Yeah, I suppose we probably do embrace, or perhaps more.
Absolutely, yeah. Embrace him and kind of hold him close, as if it's more than just the presence. It's an emotional strength and energy that I'm getting from Hitesh right now. So and then look at him and say, "Are you all right? Where are the others? What do we do?
Oh.
What's going on?" So many questions, but at least you're alive. And I'll kind of press myself against him again.
Yeah. Well, everyone's sort of okay. So much has happened. I don't know how much you've seen of what's outside, but none of it makes any sense. Strange Napoleonic soldiers on the shores, people we thought long gone. It's been terrible, and we've been struggling, to be honest, Elsa. I think this time maybe we're not going to make it.
We're going to make it, Hitesh. We have to make it, because you and I right now are the only thing that does make sense. Okay? So get me out of here. Let's get the others. Let's deal with this situation. And let's go home.
Oh, yes, thank God. I miss the children. Oh, my goodness. No matter how bad things get, yeah, at least we'll have each other. You should certainly get out of that dress. To put on some other clothes, I mean. That also doesn't make any sense.
You're forgiven. I'll find something else, and let's get out of here.
Oh, it's just been. I don't think this day can get any crazier, Elsa. Yes, let's grab some weapons, and you won't believe. Daniel seems to be only the person that knows what's going on. Can you believe it? And I sort of start to make my way towards the exit.
I think I probably can. I'll say, being led out, and follow him out into the disaster that's taking place outside.
Yeah, the screenshot ends was when the cannonball hits the tent after you just left it.
Yeah.
Duck down, run screaming away from the devastation that follows.
Excellent. So yeah, Elsa, if you can find probably a scene to ask Douglas something, and then Douglas can reconnect with Jeremy, and we've got the circle complete.
Cool.
So I think this will be the night before we're filling the ship up. So I kind of reach out to Douglas, and maybe we're sitting in a wine bar or a pub or something like that, and we're both nursing a whiskey, because he got me into the Scotch a few years ago. It was never really my poison, but somehow Douglas got me into that. And I'm sitting down, there's quite a lot of emotion in my eyes at the moment, reflecting the last few years. You know, there's a few more grey hairs, there's a wisdom there, but also a look of doubt. And I say, have you had a lot of contact with Hitesh, Douglas? In fact, what have you been up to? I know things have been strange for all of us, but I'm really scared I'm going to lose him. And I'm equally scared that Jeremy's lost himself. And I'm beginning to wonder if it's just going to be the two of us that's going to carry this through.
Yeah, so
I can't do this alone. I still feel like the baby on this boat, but I feel right now that my parents have lost the plot.
Yes, I agree. I wrote to Hitesh many times. I reached out. I've been very busy over the last few years touring the corporate circuit, something I never thought I would do, but there you go. Yes, I've reached out to Hitesh a few times. I even tried to get Jeremy into some of the gigs I had. I know he's been struggling to sort of find his way a little bit and try to get him some money as well. But yeah, and both of them seem to have struck their own path, and I guess these things do happen over time. Things fall apart a little, but we'll come together. We'll meet new people. We'll meet new friends. We'll meet new crew. I mean, I'm still full of the vim and vigor for exploration, as I know you are yourself. Your book is excellent, and I've heard about the series, by the way. Well done. It's okay. Jeremy's not here. It's fine. But yeah, fantastic news, and I enjoyed the book immensely, and I do have some things I'd like to talk to you about as we travel. I've got a desire and a need, you would say, to maybe find one of these time vortexes again and travel back and see these creatures again, see this Plesiosaur, see what may have been the Loch Ness monster, and take more images. As you know, our fellows, our peers have awarded me such merits for my footage, and now I feel I need to produce more. I need to go further. I need to see bigger and better things.
Didn't you learn anything from the last time? Time travel is so dangerous. Look what it's done to Jeremy. He's become a vegan. Look what it's done to Hitesh. What's with the goggles on his face? I can't handle.
I have no idea about those goggles.
Becoming addicted to some pseudoscience and losing themselves in this. I need you to be stable for me, please, Doug.
Of course I will. And if I'm needed here, if I'm needed more here, then of course I'll stay around. But there's so much to see in this world. Of course, maybe that adventure is here rather than in the past. Who knows what we might discover? I
certainly hope so. I'll say as I down the rest of my whiskey and then say I better check in on Hitesh and jump down.
No. I put a hand on your arm and say, another round.
Okay, cool.
Good. Then finally, if you want to set up your Douglas on Jeremy action.
Okay, so I think it's maybe the morning of when we're setting off, and Douglas is making the fry up. He's in the galley. He is cooking all the meat that you could possibly imagine, eggs, everything, anything that's basically not vegan. He has got on a frying pan and is cooking like hard. The smell of like sausages and bacon wafting through the ship. The crew are sort of all there. He's like just tossing bacon and sausages out to people and like doing a big fry up. And he comes over to Jeremy with a sort of like plate full of like a frying pan full of like sizzling sausages and eggs and bacon. I was like, do you want anything? Anything of this, Jeremy?
So no, I need no of that sustenance. I'm completely fine. Jeremy's got a small bowl of sort of avocado slices and seeds.
Oh, come on, man! I mean, this bacon's been smoked for smoked and hung. It's fantastic. It's from a butcher I really trust. It's lovely. Trust me, it's the best bacon you'll ever have. Go on, you know you want to just a little bit.
Douglas,
I know how you like the barbecue stuff. I mean, that book's fantastic.
I must pass on this. I need no further sustenance than the sea air and this. And to be quite honest, Douglas. Don't know, since Gaza's funeral, the barbecue doesn't quite hold the appeal anymore.
But surely, I like put myself down a plate, throw the frying pan back on the stove, sit down, and start shoveling like meat and stuff into my face while I'm talking to you. But surely, having these barbecues, like carrying on Gaza's legacy, that's what he'd want. He'd want us to have, beach barbecues wherever we land. He'd want us to like bring the crew together over food, over camaraderie, not over. He sort of like points dismissively at wherever the hell you're eating and says, wherever that is that you're eating. You can't sustain a person like that.
Just you see, out on the ocean, you'll see how the vigor that I possess and how I'm a much younger man with this new diet. You should try it sometime, Douglas. I'm a new man now.
Yeah, but is it worth it?
Oh, wholly worth it. The health benefits are innumerable. I mean, no judgment on the rest of you. I understand the need for you to have that level of grease and lard in you. I'm sure it will sustain the rest of the crew, but that leaves all the more for them. While I eat my meager rations, which are all I need to be sustained. I'll go and stand out in the sun for an hour now, and that will also feed me because that's also necessary.
Are you a plant?
No. But just don't believe everything you read in the sort of science books. All of this is helpful.
We're scientists, man. Of course, I believe the things that they write in the books.
So, wow, how many people have told you the Loch Ness monster doesn't exist?
Well, I've got footage now, and they've awarded me prizes. So,
you have to. We have to keep our minds open to the possibilities of anything. And there's maybe a sort of, I don't know. There's in the background. There's a bit of chanting maybe from Hitesh. if that's okay with you, Alex. And he says, well, almost anything. We should keep our mind open to almost anything, I think, shouldn't we?
Well, I'll drink to that. He like dances coffee.
Okay, let's accelerate forward. You've all got a bond with the person you spoke to. I assume they've written that down. You are in the hold of your ship, or the lower deck, certainly where the moon pool is, because Bubbles the Dolphin is squeaking excitedly. There's something happening, and he can't get his words out properly. And even the guy who's trying to do the subtitles just got like loads of question marks up. So this is our leadership role to find out who's going to be the leader for the current mission. It's like, what's up with Bubbles the Dolphin? And can you calm him down or empathize in some way so that you can find out what's going on? So you're going to need to make a warmth challenge.
Okay.
And see if you can determine what on earth is happening. The difficulty is going to be 5 for this. So if you can assemble whatever pools you've got, and then you can, when we've got some results, we'll talk about how and if you calmed him down or what you're going to.
I'm going to bring in my underwater cryptozoology for like communicating with creatures and things.
I think I'm going to aquatic predators and prey. I think applies. I'm going to resist spending any. Yeah, I'm going to resist spending my sort of marine friend now. That feels like spending it a bit early to spend my thing with Bubbles now.
Don't be too soon.
No, yeah.
Just going to roll with what I have. I don't think this is Hitesh's speciality, but he certainly wants to have a go. Okay.
It's not Elsa's either, to be fair.
I guess I know. For the leadership role, it feels right to roll, not support, regardless.
Oh yeah, I get to choose leader, don't I? I don't have to be the leader.
You don't have to be. It's your choice. Okay, yeah. So just in this little scene, I don't think we need to overrate it too much, but it might be nice to put a couple of words around it. We've got Hitesh first, then we've got Elsa, then Jeremy, and then Douglas is going to get the news at the end.
So Hitesh does burst out of whatever he was up to in his room at this commotion and kind of, joins the others in the room. And he says, oh, finally, something's happening. And he kind of, I think probably he just calms and quietens everything down because it's kind of strange to see him enter the room and want to talk to everybody. And he just says, Bubbles, okay, slow down. Okay, I don't know what he's saying, but I think it'll be easy to understand if he slows down. And it just, perhaps makes it slightly easier for the next person to connect.
And he does indeed stop his excited squeaking and starts to take a couple of breaths, which involves lots of water out the blowhole and stuff, spraying everybody.
I mean, Elsa's got a lot. She's a very warm person, but she doesn't really know how to communicate with dolphins. So she would, with him bobbing his head out of the water, she would just be sort of rubbing his nose and over the top of the dome of his head and kind of things. So he's very excited and looking around for someone like Jeremy or like Douglas who pays more attention to Bubbles than she does to say, do you know what he's going on about? He seems to be enjoying this as she's continuing to stroke him and calming him further. But I don't really know what he's trying to tell us.
Yeah, Jeremy goes to sort of the stores that side the pool, gets out a wafer and some fruit and makes to throw it to sort of calm Bubbles down. Then sort of rolls his eyes, puts it away, and gets a nice fresh fish. Bubbles' favourite, and throws it. And Bubbles leaps out momentarily and gulps it down, and that slows him down a bit while he chews it. It's good. Goodbye, Bubbles. Goodbye.
And he does seem to be calming down somewhat.
Douglas has been taking a moment to sort of just tune into what Bubbles is saying while everyone else sort of calming down, getting an idea, sort of recalling sort of like ways to communicate with the underwater creatures that he's read about, and sort of like basically just tunes into what Bubbles is saying.
Indeed. And so, are you going to be the leader for this mission, or are you picking someone else?
I'm going to pick Elsa for this mission. I think I think Elsa should lead us in this because I mean, if Douglas actually takes a leadership role and succeeds, it might really ruin his lecture circuit tours. Really.
Very good. Okay, well, Bubbles finally comes down, and the subtitles guy gets a chance to kind of like type up what's actually happening. I imagine you've got some like tape deck with 2 big reels on and stuff that you put a microphone next to the moon pool and he squeaks into that, and then it comes out through some complicated machinery. That's what he's actually saying. And he's been visiting, or he went to visit his family in the Bay of, the Moray Firth near Inverness, which which is where the Loch Ness was out, no matter. But all his family were gone. And the few other dolphins he could find around there seems to be a dearth of them. were saying there's some huge creature that's going around eating dolphins. And he's absolutely distraught because he doesn't know his family are dead, been eaten, left and not come back. He doesn't know where they've gone. Maybe troll them and never got them if they've gone too far towards the Arctic Circle. Anything could have happened. And he's like, he knows that you've got your important research today and whatever else it is, but like he's basically imploring you that you come and like try and find out what's happened to his family, basically.
We absolutely should. I mean, Bubbles has helped us so many times, sometimes realising, sometimes not realising it. I feel that we owe it to Bubbles to find out what's happened to his family. And a sideways glance at Douglas, it will be remiss of us not to head up to Scotland to find out what.
Of course not. The Moray Firth, I know it well. I have many friends and family in there. I'm sure I can get us excellent accommodation while we're in the area.
30 years we've been doing this, if you believe in linear time, and Bubbles has never asked for anything until now. We owe him this much.
Absolutely.
Large aquatic creatures in Scottish sea waters? What could that be?
Who knows? But definitely worth an investigation, I feel.
I don't know, but something tells me that whatever it is, it's not vegan. Jeremy. All right, let's go, shall we?
Excellent. And we cut to the east coast of Scotland as you've cruised happily past the Bay of Edinburgh and that kind of area, and getting even further north towards Inverness, or that part of the sea anyway. And as you're getting close, you catch sight of a garish yellow tartan on the side of this ferry, because as you know, the Macintosh line now runs between Bergen or something like that in Norway and Inverness. That although that ferry was long since discontinued, you're aware that Douglas's brother and sister have formed a new company with a new ferry line that's become very successful. With their particularly exciting tartan that they have, which looks it's almost blinding on the horizon. You can see the ship. But as you're getting closer, you note that it seems to be in distress. You can see little dots, and it's like people are actually jumping off the side of the ferry. It's not traveling in a direct line you would expect to go into Inverness itself. And there's something under the water. A dark shape is attacking the vessel, it seems, or certainly causing distress. So what are you going to do? Are you going to rush forward and try and help the people in the water to rescue people? Are you going to try to drive off the sea creature? Or are you going to try and transfer people across to your vessel and leave the ferry to its fate? So what are you going to do to resolve this exciting crisis which lies before you?
My immediate thought is we have to save the people before we do anything else, right? There's no point finding sea monsters if people are going to be dead. So I think if we can't stop the ferry, and I look to my companions, do we think we can stop the ferry? It's out of control, but if anybody thinks they can do it, then let's try that. But
we'd have to get on board, I think. Bring it to a halt.
At least we need to do is get beside it and get people across onto the Fairbanks, right? Everybody okay with that?
Can anybody fly this new helicopter that we have? It might be useful for rescuing people.
Actually, over the last couple of years, I've been taking some lessons. So yeah, I might be able to give it a shot.
Oh, wonderful.
I've got a license, kind of.
Okay, well, show it to us later.
Yeah, show us. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, well, let's at least get the boat nearby and grab those people that are in the water and see if we can get as many others off as possible.
Agreed.
Okay, so there is a dangerous sea creature about. The ferry's out of control. There's people that you might accidentally hit in your wake or otherwise upset, as well as the danger they are to themselves. So it's going to have to be a determination challenge to try and rescue as many people as possible without causing further accident or injury. So yes, I shall make a roll for you, actually, shouldn't I? I get to take part now. I've just remembered. So let's roll some dice for the challenge. Roll strength. It's going to be determination. Token number 6, pretty easy.
In which case,
I'm going to bring in my underwater cryptology, the sort of the patterns of the creature attacks, that kind of thing. Try and help us get closer.
Yeah, Jeremy has already stripped off. And
of course he has.
Dived into the moon pool, releasing locks with Bubbles to try and distract this creature long enough to buy some time using my obscure freediving techniques research.
Despite himself, I think Hitesh cares, is a little bit worried about, or already was worried about Jeremy's whole lifestyle, but now particularly. So I'm going to support you and give you my D10 determination.
Fortuitous, I brought some emergency gear, so I'm going to be throwing life rings into the water and using pulley systems and so forth to get people out, and etc., etc., etc. So I've just sort of ticking that one off.
I think I'm supported by just staying on the ship and checking the sensors and being over the radio for Jeremy, by the way, if that flavors your narration. Go.
Yeah, definitely.
Really good. Just need Elsa, and then we're good to go. Wow, lots of high rolls. Let's get that out of the way now. So
Yeah, definitely.
Douglas starts off, and then we get Elsa, and then it's going to be Jeremy who saves the day.
So I think Douglas is sort of shine up to Hitesh in the cockpit as they pull alongside. He's sort of getting the crew to sort of throw ropes across to the ship to sort of like basically get the boats together for a moment so the crew can get across. He's just sort of like directing the crew around the side of the ship as they pull alongside.
Nice. Elsa builds on that.
Yeah, so using all the emergency gear that I've stashed on board, anticipating problem, reinforce the work that Douglas is doing, sending out life rings, etc. Using my knowledge of how you safely pull up shipwrecks to sort of get close enough to this vessel so that we can latch ourselves, and those people that haven't already thrown themselves over can walk the plank across to ours, no pun intended.
There is the ever-present danger of the sea creature, though. How does Jeremy survive all this?
Well, I think there's just the splash of seeing Jeremy's body in it. We see Jeremy he's secreted about himself the remainder of the fish and is just throwing it around in the water to try and create a distraction. Maybe, obviously the sea creature is just a dark shape, but there's an ominous like rise of Bubbles, not Bubbles the Dolphin, just Bubbles, showing that he's got its attention. And then we just see Jeremy and Bubbles dive down. There's a very long pause until we hear just maybe Hitesh over the radio going, the shape, it's moving. And we can see the dark shape has moved around to the other side of the boat. And then like just jumping up back into the moon pool comes a bedraggled Jeremy pulling himself up with Bubbles sort of lashed to him. As we said, did we get it? Did we save the people? Did we save the people?
Saved all the people you have. And there's a massive crunch, like an underwater depth charge kind of noise, and you see the ferry starting to sink almost as if some huge sea creatures hold it beneath the waterline. And just as the last people are dragged off, it starts to sink into the water, and you're able to turn your vessel and head for land, rescuing everyone. So your vessel's now like just rammed with people, frankly. You've had to throw some of your collection of books that you've got down in the hold that you've been keeping for many years. They've just had to go overboard to make space for people. But there's tons of people stashed all over the place. And amongst them is your sister, Douglas, who comes running up to you and slaps your stinging hand across the face. Goes, what are you doing? Look at that at the bottom of the sea now. You owe us one ferry.
Hi. Nice to see you. You're alive. You're welcome.
We had things
nice to see you, Abigail.
Hand. Yeah, well, nice to see you, I suppose, as well. But
look, we had a choice. We couldn't rescue both, and whatever that was gesticulating below the water. Look, we'll get you into Gordon nearby. There's a nice deep harbor there. We'll get in there. It'll be fine. We'll get your crew off. And then we can figure out what's going on. But don't blame me for your ferry sinking. We came along and rescued you.
Well,
like it or not, that is the situation.
Dangers in this water for far too long while you've been off doing whatever it is you've been doing, not helping with the family business.
I didn't want any piece of the family business. I was happy that you were succeeding. Sorry for me living my own life and not wanting to run a ferry service.
Is this
How
what
dare
success
I?
like? You coming ramming my vessel and sending to the bottom of the sea.
Didn't ram your vessel. That did whatever that was. What was that?
I don't know, but there's something going on down in the waters.
Well, maybe I and my crew can help you out, find out what that is, make this place safe so you can run your ferry service successfully. And I'm very happy that you are.
Well,
I'm sorry the ferry's gone down.
Well, glad you can apologise. Well done, thank you. It's good. It's very big of you. You've grown.
I'd like to make it clear I'm not apologising for sinking your ferry
Well, don't
because
spoil it
I
now.
didn't.
Fine. Well, it's ever since your friend Daniel turned up. Anyway, all things have started going on like this.
Oh, is he here? I am sorry about that. I should have dealt with him a long time ago, and by that I mean that.
Has Daniel not been on this boat with us the whole time?
No, he's been replaced by some other guy, Henri or something. I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I didn't know where Daniel was. Didn't much care.
Care
now.
Daniel.
And we skip forward to coming to the delightful dockside of Inverness as your vessel boards up and everyone can depart. Curiously enough, on the dockside, there are some people smoking Gauloise watching you. They've got these tight tactical turtlenecks of black cashmere, and they've all got their hair dyed blonde. It doesn't look like blonde like Daniel's hair. It looks like it's that kind of almost yellowy white, peroxide blonde with like black roots and stuff. But they're all very much of a similar. It's all smoking. When they see your vessel come, they kind of side eye each other and then rush off as if going to report or something else like that.
Anybody know who those guys are? They look very suspicious.
They look very annoyingly familiar, like a cult of Daniel. Ugh.
What have we done?
As your
I think it's more what we didn't do is my high question. Should have fed him to a shark a good long time ago.
Really makes you ponder the futility of parenthood.
No, it doesn't. Let's not talk about the futility of parenthood, Hitesh. Let's talk about what's underneath the water. Now, I suggest we go out there, send some sensors down, do the thing we do and find out what's caused all of this problem. And not at all consider the futility of parenthood.
I agree thoroughly with Elsa on this one.
I was strutting off with my arms crossed. As if to say, that was the worst thing that Hitesh could have said right then, I think to myself as I walk away.
Okay. Well, I do agree we should go after the sea monster.
Excellent. Well, let's stock up a little bit in Inverness and we can head out in the morning.
Excellent. You did that. And you notice as you're doing your reloading and dock checks and getting some stuff, provisions and moving some of the stuff about, whatever, that there's a sleek vessel that's heading out, which is called the Gauloise. It's just massive, full of very similar looking people on it as crew. They all kind of like look at you with their pencil thin moustaches and cigarettes, blowing smoke in your direction as they sleep out of their berth and into the wide open ocean.
As I watched them go past, I said to the others, "So, are you sure we want to wait till morning?"
Yeah, I agree. I think we're ready. We can go. I mean, I guess Abigail and my brother might want to come as well. Andrew's around as well, I assume.
Are we taking your whole family now, or is that what this is?
I mean, I'll not play the scene again, but essentially he comes up saying, "Not to across the face, when I go to my ferry." Oh.
Yeah, basically do that again. I've got one a sore cheek on each side now.
Yeah, at least they had the decency to slap you different sides of your face.
I'd rather they didn't keep slapping me around the face. So yeah, let's take them with us at least.
Let's go now. I find I have need for no more than 2-3 hours of sleep at the moment, so it's no odds for me to go after them.
Modeling yourself on Margaret Thatcher. Excellent. Good role model.
Peak physical performance from there.
Excellent. Well, the Gauloise does steal a march on you because you've got loads of refugees or people you've saved from the boat or whatever you're trying to. You have to unload, so that just takes time. But eventually you can reprovision and head out again to the ocean. So are you going to try and track where, Daniel's vessel went to? Are you going to be looking for signs of the sea creature, or have you got some other method of determining where to begin your pattern search? Maybe you're going to look for dolphins or something like that. How are you going to approach this?
I mean, dolphins, they're about the area for sure, but maybe we can look for where they're not, but seems a bit of a...
I feel like we've got to decide what's more important to us. Is it finding that ship more important to, or following there where they're going, or finding the monster? I feel like it's finding the monster. And I feel like we're skilled enough now to not need them to find the sea creature.
While I agree, Abigail did kind of imply that since they turned up, that's when this creature started to make itself known. So maybe they're doing something.
But if we
Yeah.
wait for them, we're always going to be behind them, aren't we?
Agreed.
So
Yeah,
why
that's
don't
true.
we try to get in front by finding the sea creature on our own?
I like it.
Yeah, Daniel's never been 2 steps ahead of us before. And we're not allowed to let him be like that now, are we? So yeah, let's go for it. Let's seize the moment.
Yeah.
Well,
Agreed.
see as you do as you head out into open waters once more. You leave behind the beautiful perennial sunshine of Scotland, as we all know the word to be. And as you head to the North Sea, you
So
see
realistic.
yeah, that's right.
Has been recently.
The ahead of you is grey. It's hard to tell where the slate grey of the sea ends and the fat, pregnant clouds of the storm above it begins as you push into the water. And immediately feels like the ocean itself is trying to push you back into bay. So this is going to be a curiosity challenge to try and find out something about sea life. I think we're going for. We're going to try and find a sea life clue as to what's going on. And it's going to be Amber Alert because a squall has come in and it's very quickly becoming a full-on storm around you. And you're not exactly sure where you're heading to, so it's all a bit dangerous.
Sorry, guys, just remind me what Amber Alert means.
No,
Take a
damn,
pressure as
I
you
knew
go in.
you'd ask. No, I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's nice. If you fail, then you're going to mark a pressure.
Cool.
But it's only if you suffer.
Say curiosity, yeah.
Curiosity, yeah. I'm just going to put some bigger dice together.
So Elsa, I'm going to bring in determination because I really want to succeed at this, given that I was making a real claim that this is what we should do rather than following the ship. I don't want to be ridiculed, especially by Jeremy, who I think always is looking at me with eyes filled with ridicule. So I want to prove myself.
11.
And I'm also going to make use of the sensors that I've configured on the ship, using that as the extra gear that I brought.
That was good.
Yeah,
I'm going to. Sorry, go ahead.
So I'm bringing in aquatic predators and prey. Seems reasonable. And I'm going to spend the bond with Douglas because all those late nights talking about one particular Scottish sea monster are bound to have sunk in at some point.
It's like Macbeth, so we're not allowed to mention the play or something.
I'm going to bring unexplained sea phenomenon in because that's the kind of sort of evidence we're looking for, something odd and weird on the surface of the water. I think I'll also bring determination in. I think that's quite a good one because, yeah, I want to prove my worth to my family here. I might bring in my maps and charts of the area as well. I've got quite detailed maps and charts that I've sort of gathered over the years of Scotland.
It seems somehow that Bubbles has managed to put his house on there with a mark. You don't know how he managed to get on the Moonfield and do it, but maybe convince someone.
Oh, oops, done this slightly wrong. Sorry.
I'm using my undersea Fathomless depth research because we're searching underwater. I'm not bringing anything else in. Hitesh is still very much off doing his own thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Elsa and Jeremy, can you dice off on name die, please, just to get an ordering for us? Can you also... Okay, so let's look. Elsa, you're first, then it's Jeremy. Ben Hitesh, and then Douglas finally gets you where you need to be. So big storms, all that sort of stuff.
Big storms, rocking away. Elsa's downstairs in the sensor room or wherever it is. She put the sensors in, and she's looking at all kinds of sonographs and seeing all these big blobs over there, and she's communicating over the radio saying, right, okay, now I think we need to head due north. I'm seeing something being picked up. And that's how she's sort of supporting whatever comes next.
Very good.
Yeah, Jeremy's up on deck, just every so often going and getting a sample of the water and trying to find out if the patterns for where the fish are swimming reveals where this monster might be. And every so often, just put up a sample of the seawater and like downing it and just seeing if you can taste whether it's near or not, but then spitting it out and doing it. But that method is inconclusive, it seems. But
Right, and it's not as nice as spider crab musk, I've got to tell you.
Well, it's got a really high salt content as well, which he doesn't really want in his body.
Well, no, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, then it's Hitesh, I believe.
Hitesh has seemed almost apathetic up to this point, but suddenly something has seized him as they've been looking for this monster, and he kind of rushes through the galley looking frantic and finds Douglas, and he's clutching maps and charts in his hands. And he says to him, my friend, listen to this. Obviously, this creature can't have just been here the whole time. It must have traveled through time, else we would have found it already. And if you look at this kind of spiral cave formation here, I think that might be kind of a time conductor, and it could have pulled it through there. And he's gesticulating, and despite the fact that his words are nonsense, annoyingly the cave actually looks like a pretty good place for the monster to come, and perhaps helps Douglas to narrow down his search.
Yeah, it's an interesting area though. There's always been rumors and sort of myths around that area, like weird phenomenon, weird creatures, and Douglas sort of goes out on deck, sort of says, "Oh, it's very bracing out here. It's like the storm. It's like the ship's like doing this," and Douglas just like, "This is fine." Looks off into the distance into this cove, and you can see there's something just amongst all the sort of like the flotsam and all the sort of like cresting waves. There's just a shape, just the hint of a shape diving under the water, and Douglas sort of directs him to that direction.
Indeed, there is. Just as you're lifting up your binoculars to get a good look at it, as your ship's cutting through the water, bouncing up and down, almost like it's a speedboat on, the water. The crack of lightning hits the tower of a mobile oil rig platform, and then the next one sort of shadows it and silhouettes it, and you can see that the caves must be underneath this platform. It's almost as if it's been positioned directly above them. Moored on the side of the platform is the Galwaz, its dark, oily shape, highlighted as well by the cracks of lightning. The roll of thunder seems to be ominous around you. And as you all peer over the sides or use your instruments as best you can, you know that this creature seems to go underneath to the caves where the thing is, but just before it gets there, it seems to disappear. It just disappears off the radar, and it blinks from sight almost, seems to fade away to nothing. And there is where we're going to have a quick 5-minute break. It will be less for you, dear watchers, because we'll edit it, but for me and my fellow players, we're just going to take 5 minutes, and we're back soon to find out what all this mystery means. Here we are back again after that extensive break, but through the power of magic or time travel. What is it? To you at home, it'll be mere seconds. So, the crew, as you sit round in your bridge, perhaps, to have a look at what you could possibly do, because there's no point trying to do it outside in the howling storms. The TV's on silent before you with subtitles in the background. It's noted that Beauchamp has won the World Polo Championship again. One of your crew members is sat there leaping through the edge of sail with a red pen, scowling and making notes in the margins and stuff. But you have your day table ahead of you with your charts put on, the compass and the balls like spinning around madly as your ship bucks and that, and the two little interns are struggling really hard with the wheel to try and keep it straight. You've got a couple of choices. Are you going to ignore the oil platform and dive down into the depths and try and find out what happened to this creature, or how is it obfuscated in the caves below, perhaps? Are you going to try and sneak aboard the oil platform and maybe the Galwaz itself to determine what might be happening? Or are you going to perhaps make a bold approach, announce yourselves, and confront your former intern to see what he's doing and what he's playing at? Or maybe a fourth option of your own choosing.
What do you think, gentlemen?
I'm in favor of ignoring Daniel and just proceeding.
I think the time might have come to confront him, but I'm not in charge.
What do you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'd like to think that Daniel's of no consequence, because he consistently was when he was on our ship, apart from when he rescued all of us from that time travel island. Of course.
I don't remember that personally.
Yeah, but apart from that, he's been of no consequence whatsoever. So I think that the beast is our concern, not these smoking idiots.
Do you know what? Hitesh, if you're okay with this, I don't want to give Daniel any more attention than he deserves. I think he's thriving. His ego's thriving on the attention that we give him, whether we choose to or not. We're here for the sea monster. He will come to us, and if we get there first, I think that will be in part a punishment.
An
Okay,
excellent plan.
it's your call. I think we're going to have to show down with him sooner or later, but perhaps later.
Let's not
I'll
put
give it
this-
to you. This worldly planning is not my area of expertise anymore.
Can I notch off bombs with Hitesh?
There is also a moment, actually, I think, if I may add, where maybe something's happened with the oil rig. I don't imagine it's in the best condition. Maybe some oil is kind of leaking out into the ocean. And Hitesh looks at it, and there is a kind of a look of anger on his face. And it is a slight glimpse of the old Hitesh who did care about actual worldly important stuff like this, particularly threats to the ocean. But then he's back to his strange, dreamlike demeanor.
Excellent. So, are you all getting on board your Titan submarine and heading down? I assume you're in atmospheric diving suits. Are the suits inside the submarine which you're taking down with you?
Yeah, so our stealth submarine in our red tartan, our proud red tartan. Will,
I certainly am going to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might be in a suit next to the submarine, I think.
Sure, you can do that. So as you descend, it's clear there's some kind of patrol that's going on. There's not just the main boat. There's obviously like smaller vessels, so a little flotilla, if you will, and they're keeping track of who's around them. The army of the Garwars. So you have to make a subtlety challenge to try and get down unmolested. Otherwise, bad things may happen to you. So I think this is definitely going to be challenging. And it's definitely Amber Alert as well still, because they've not spotted you yet, but they're keeping attention. So that means if you suffer, you're going to lose both the pressure and some equipment or training.
Okay.
I think that Elton knows this isn't her speciality, but she's confident, given where we are, that Douglas knows what he's doing. So I'm going to support Douglas. I'll be like, Douglas, tell me what to do, and I'll press the right buttons at the right time, but you take us down, sir.
Okay.
I'll support Douglas.
Cool.
Good. Well, your challenge number is going to be 10.
That gives me your name die. Is that right, Matt?
Believe so, and that's
Yeah.
D8 here.
I thought if you supported someone else, you gave your domain.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
me. Sorry, yeah.
I finally learned the rules.
There we go. All right. So,
Hey!
in which case, it's only a
Yeah,
D6. I told you I wasn't very good at this.
Oh, it's only D6 now.
Sorry, everybody.
Well, I'm going to bring in my underwater zoology. I'm also going to bring in my exploration / extra vehicle thing that I've got. And it's subtlety yet. I'm going to bring determination in again because I'm like really focused on like getting this sword for my family, just so they don't slap me around the face more than anything.
I'm bringing in determination because I'm kind of swimming off, doing my own thing in the diving suit, and hopefully I'll just sort of escape all notice.
Yeah,
Well, that was a terrible role considering my roles.
I am also bringing in determination. I think I'm alongside the sub, maybe in a suit or maybe just in like a scuba tank that he's not even got attached. Like he just like takes a gulp and then does it using his techniques to try and draw them off.
So it's going to be named our time for Hitesh and Douglas, because you rolled the same. Presuming you all managed to self-manage your glory from last time as well.
Yeah.
Jeremy beat us anyway, right? Oh, we still need to roll though. Yeah.
Yeah, for ordering of stuff.
Oh, I didn't take the glory from last time. Oh, there we go. Right. So I need to name die roll off. It's a D10.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Douglas first, then Hitesh, then Jeremy.
So Douglas gets behind the controls, full of confidence, and he dives down into depths. But as he dives down, he realizes that he's only really seen these places from above before, and he's getting there. He's making his way through, but he's distracted by the patrols and trying to get through and trying not to be seen. And there's a lot of distractions, and he's getting us there, but he's not really feeling the confidence of being in charge.
Yeah, and for some reason the heating unit's not, or the cooling unit's not doing what it should be, so it's really hot in this small room that you're in. So we'll lock. That's in the summer months, which we're recording. Tash.
There's a moment where maybe it looks like Hitesh is going to sort of change his demeanor because a sort of crackle comes over the radio for Elsa, and it's Hitesh's kind of call sign as if he's about to say something, but then it kind of quickly zips and crackles away as if he's changed his mind, and instead he swims off on his own in his diving suit back to his old ways through the caves, but he finds a particularly large one that the submarine can use to kind of slip under the patrols of the Galwars.
Oh, finally, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, as the sub's following through this cave, there's a sort of blockage here, though. This is why this isn't where the Galwars have expect to find us, and so Jeremy, obviously bare-chested with just his scuba gear on, takes a big gulp and has to sort of move aside all these rocks in this feat of strength before he's able to gesture for the sub to continue as he swims, leading the way into the caves and that, before eventually remembering and taking another big gulp of air many minutes after he last did it, and feeling elated and slightly lightheaded from lack of oxygen.
Now we have a scene, if you imagine the Matrix, where they're kind of in that old city, and so like the sub has to keep turning it at an angle, and the lights are bouncing off the walls and ruins around you, and it's from all your, maybe it is the lightheadedness of the oxygen, maybe it's the adrenaline of what you've done, maybe it's the strange way that light's bouncing off here. But from the research you've done, the talks you've had, the documentaries that you've watched, and other things, you start to think, is this Atlantis? Look at these Corinthian columns. What's that strange light? And for the two of you that are outside the sub, you notice it just disappear at one point. It just seems to slip down one of the side streets and is gone. And rush, swim over, lungs bursting to try and find out what's going on, and then one by one you disappear as well. And as we come back from the commercial break on the TV show, where it's wondering what's happened, your submarine is now just kind of left on its side. And if you imagine an old city with cobbled streets, colonnades, large ziggurats around, things like that, and although there is water here, it doesn't seem as buoyant. And so your submarine is just, when it came through this portal, it's just kind of lumped down on its side. And some of you who were swimming suddenly find yourself almost falling and step down. And you can see in the distance, amongst them, there are some people walking around, but they aren't strange or alien. They're familiar-looking people in black turtlenecks with dyed blonde hair, somehow managing to smoke even underwater. What sorcery is this? And yeah, they seem at once close by and far away, and your sense of time and perception has been distorted. And I don't know, how does Hitesh feel about this?
Pretty smug, actually. I look around at the others. I say, I don't think we're in Inverness anymore. Even this has escaped my predictions.
Yeah, I've never heard of any rumors or myths of any such things in this area. Incredible.
Jeremy,
we must investigate further.
That was quite the display down there in the waters.
The trick is to hyperventilate to make your blood alkaline enough to carry out feats of strength such as this. I can show you when we're back on dry land, Hitesh. It would. You have been taking your daily supplements that I recommended. I was leaving them by a cabin. You've still been taking them, yes? That'll help as well.
Coming across the radio, that's what we're going to talk about now at the moment, gents. That's what we're going to talk about. How about the big city surrounding us rather than alkaline blood content?
Yeah,
I just think it's interesting that our unconventional beliefs have paid off for the both of us. I have perhaps not been quite so smug and weird about it, but even
Elsa, let's go. We'll leave them chatting.
Yeah, Doug, I'm with you. I'll suit up and head out. If I'm actually, I probably haven't suited up already, just in case there was a breach in the sub.
Yeah. Okay. In your atmospheric suits, you push into the city to try and discover what's going on. There's weird lighting that doesn't seem to come from any particular source, but is in all the colours of the rainbow, and you presume others as well, as Bubble squeaks to you saying seems like he's having a trip or something as he's looking around and talking about things that you can't see yourselves because your senses aren't as aligned as him. But he seems agitated at one point where he feels like he can hear his siblings calling him, but can't quite work out where it's coming from, and sort of rushes forward a bit. And as you hurry to keep up and keep an eye out, you all start to get strange dreams and uncanny sensations and flashbacks, maybe, or maybe visions of something for the future. So, Elsa, you start to imagine yourself, or perhaps feel yourself transported to the coral bays where you first met Gaz Taylor, and you remember the time when you crashed against his boat and caused him to drop his bucket into the sea as he was trying to bail himself out. And then you remember, now you try and steel yourself, that the time the panther shark was going to eat him, you managed to rescue him. And then you remember his funeral and how ultimately he was let down by you all. Hitesh, you start to remember all the creatures as you see none about, like every single creature that's died because of your inaction or lack of action. All the things you could have saved. That drip of oil you saw before now seems to be like coming down the sides of every building, as if the place is drowning in crude oil, tainting the place. Jeremy, as you try and march forward, your breathing isn't happening because you're holding your breath, but your chest becomes tight as you feel like you're trying to like get through treacle, and you can just see ahead like the nuclear bomb timer as you're cutting wires. It starts to accelerate, and you're trying to get nearer and near it, and it's just out of reach, and the acceleration of the timer is getting faster and faster. And Douglas, of course, you recall how bad you've been sometimes at equipment, and you start to hear the hiss of Bubbles around you, not Bubbles the Dolphin, Bubbles from your seats. You think, oh, you remember the time when you didn't tie the bolts tight enough on the seats and the seals started to go. Maybe you're all going to drown here due to your inability to maintain the seats. Too worried about your book tour, perhaps your laxness is going to cause you all to drown. So you all need to make a challenge. As an uncanny feeling has come across you. You don't know what the cause is, but something clearly is trying to undermine you or stop you in your tracks or put you off what you're doing. So this is going to be a grueling challenge. So you're going to have to use specialist gear equipment or training to enter. You'll have to take part because you're all suffering your respective visions. And I'm going to let you determine what you want to do for the challenge based on how you describe what it is you're doing and how you are coping with your own mental demons and flashbacks and what it is. So it's up to you to pick a domain for it. So,
I think it's pretty easy for Elsa.
It's going to be an 8 is what you need to.
I think she will be, in spite of the recent trauma between the two of them, she will be reflecting on at least 5 years of love and attention and care between her and Hitesh. They've had a child together. Her own children, Liam and Ingrid, love him. They've become a true family and given her everything she's wanted. So I'm going to go for warmth because she's going to reflect on the great times she's had. And I'm also going to spend a bond with Hitesh to essentially, without him even realizing it, he's supporting me. His presence here is enough to see me through this darkness, this feeling of failure, basically. Yeah.
That's phenomenal because my approach is going to be extremely similar. I'm also going to use warmth and spend a bond with Elsa because for Hitesh, this is about coming back to the world as much as anything else and looking reality in the face. I'm going to go all in on this role because it makes sense to do that, even though I don't think I need to for the target number of 8. So I'm definitely going to spend what is the 4th dimension because I think it's probably Hitesh needs to leave some of this stuff behind. So Gaz, you can tell me what that's worth, but it is pretty arbitrary, to be honest.
You can have a full D10 for it.
Yay.
I'm going to be going for determination as I sort of like try and steel myself through it, try and sort of remember my training and remember the words I wrote in my own book, Overboard, All at Sea with Leadership. What's that worth to me?
You can have a D10 for that as well.
Yeah, so he's like sort of checking his own suit and he sees it's fine. Elsa's nearby, so he starts checking her suit and like he just goes through each one at a time, making sure everything's correct, just sort of trying to will himself through it.
Yeah, I'm using determination. Jeremy is clear in his mind that this has already happened and the bomb didn't explode. This is just a mirage, and in order to clear his head he begins chanting the mantra that he heard Hitesh chanting before, spending a bond as he's discovered that our strange methods seem to be actually working here. So yeah, I'm just going to spend that bond to bring Hitesh in.
What's your name, Dice Hitesh? Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Still D8, I'm sorry to say.
That's right.
Do I take anything worse other than barrel trauma from failing?
You marked a thing for entering, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine then.
That was a pressure for entering, wasn't it? And a barrel trauma if you failed. Is that right?
It was equipment or training.
Oh, equipment or training.
20,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And you take a pressure if you fail.
We need to roll off also as well, I think, don't we?
I like the fact that Hitesh came out on top here. I think this was his moment to make this happen.
Yeah, now I can really ham this up, and you'll have to let me do it because that's how the game works.
My roll was appalling.
Yeah, that is really bad.
Absolutely appalling.
Because we stopped you before.
I kept those 18s out of the way early on when we were trying to work out what Bubbles was saying, and now we get into the real world. Okay,
I'm glad you can now ham it up, Alex. That's great.
you should not be doing.
Six sessions. Finally, we can ham it up.
You've always so restrained. Okay, so if you're a Douglas, maybe you make things worse, and that's something you could direct. That's up to you. And then it's Elsa, then it's Jeremy, and then finally Hitesh. So yeah, let's start with Douglas.
So Douglas is sort of panicking, checking his own suit. He thinks it's fine. He starts checking Elsa's suit, and he starts trying to take Elsa's suit apart, totally and utterly panicking. He can't remember anything that's been written overboard because the thing was ghost written that he's not actually told anyone about. So he doesn't even remember what's in it anymore, and he's just like, he's absolutely panicking.
So Elsa's hit with all these failures and the fact that, this was on her first mission, she totally screwed up as far as she's concerned, and she wondered if she'd ever be invited back. And then immediately she remembers that first hand on her hand as we're sitting together, having survived a life or death situation with Hitesh, and then goes on to, it's a bit cliche, but there's kids on swings and holding hands in the park and stuff like that. But also the tender moments where perhaps is Hitesh, where he's got emotional and I'm just holding his hands and we're talking. It's all happening, silently, but you can see it. It's kind of dreamlike as we're talking together, and then it quickly flashes to a rally we did together. So we are equals in that as well. I was at one of these political rallies, and he came to one of my book signings, and we just kind of bonded so much. We become extensions of each other, and I don't feel that I can really fail if I've got him around. And of course the fun part is where he recently came in and untied me from a tent and asked me to change my clothes there and then, but we don't dwell on that.
Yeah, Jeremy stops, stressing to get to the bomb, and we just see him stop, arms outstretched, as he repeats this mantra. And I think we get a shot of just the face mask. There goes the reflection as we see the counter going down, but then we see the explosion in the reflection, and just see a flash of worry and concern go over his eyes. This wasn't how it happened, but he keeps chanting and just hopes he's done enough to that this is just an illusion.
Hitesh, kind of, journeying through his strange mind vision place, a succession of faces flash before his eyes. Douglas and Jeremy, of course, his warm, consistent companions. Daniel, strangely, is there until Hitesh realizes that maybe Daniel has to be here to remind him that, going off alone will lead, and sort of starting a cult of personality will not lead you to friendly shores. And that it's our bonds with others that kind of make us who we are. And as he kind of pushes through, he sees his children, and all three of them reflects on how important they are. And finally, of course, Elsa is there in front of him, and he says to her, "Elsa, I've sort of been working on this theory that what I felt the first time I saw you when we met was, some kind of emotions traveling backwards through time, constant through the time stream. But on reflection, I suppose probably what it was actually was just sort of ordinary, boring, splendid human love. And I've been focusing on all these things, all these strange journeys that we've made, all my journeys to time's strange shores, but I've been thinking too big. Ava is so beautiful, and I've been looking in all the wrong places. And now I realize, what is the fourth dimension? Well, who cares, as long as we're all here together. And the crystal goggles drop from my hand. And as I kind of return slightly to reality, I get Elsa on the radio and I say, Elsa, did we just have a conversation, or am I about to have to say all that again?
I guess there's a moment's pause. And I'm not quite sure that we did, but I think I understand. Let's talk later. And recognizing the tone in it, changing the tone in his voice. It's good to hear you.
It's good to be back.
Wonderful. The commercial break cuts in again at that poignant moment. And then when we come back, you've progressed into the city. All glad to be alive and present in the moment, at least. You can see above you as you look above now. It's almost like you can... The ceiling of the sea or something's above you, but it's like too far away. And there's something like a black, not a tentacle, but a strand that's coming down. At the bottom of it is an electric charge, like lightning. And rather than dissipating through the water, it seems to arc straight down into the top of one of the ziggurats, marking it out as if energy's coming from above and being focused into this place. And so you head there and burst into the weird, non-Euclidean, Escher-like drawing of a building inside as you'll get lost. And there's some comedy French force moments as you both like end up on top of each other on staircases and stuff like that, until you reach a large central chamber, which seems much bigger than it should be given the dimensions of the building that you've entered. But you can see plenty of people around with their black turtlenecks and their bleached blonde hair. You notice the self-made Nietzschean Übermensch of Daniel, who's arguing with Jeremy St. John Sr. over a table. There's all kinds of crystals and devices and strange metals around. There's pens with sort of energy fields or different densities of water or something that have been created. And you notice there's dolphins around, penned in. Bubbles is in the darkness of one corner, like butting his head against a pillar, trying to make it bring it down or something that seems to be doing nothing. And you notice above you, in the impossibly high ceiling of this place, there's a huge dolphin that's swimming around, but it seems distended and bloated and has polyps and ulcers on its skin. And as you catch snapshots of what Daniel and other Jeremy are saying, Daniel's like, no, it must be perfect. The cloning process just needs another tweak. We have plenty of samples. Let's start again. And Jeremy says, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. We just need to create more of these. Soon our dolphin army will mean we can control the world. And sadly, he shakes his head and says, no, they must be perfect and beautiful, like all my followers. And like it makes a sweeping gesture at the people right around. And then that's when they notice that you people are there. It's time for a battle. So there's clearly some unholy experiments taking place here. A combination of Daniel, your once beloved, / maybe not beloved, intern, Jeremy St. John Sr.'s been
I don't think
helping.
it was ever beloved, was it?
No, he's beloved by the audience in some ways.
When he was first introduced, and immediately when he did something, we stopped loving him.
There was lots of fanfic with him and Bubbles and stuff like that.
He came through for us a few times.
No, he didn't. No idea what we're talking about. The ship's logs do not record this.
Oh, that's certainly true.
Well, I wasn't there when he did it, so
DVD extras that'll be in. So what's going to happen is we've got the 3 phases, like we do battles. So there'll be a scouting phase or a gaining advantage where you try and get the lay of the land and maybe set things up for later, create some traps or work out some advantage you can get. Then you're either going to seize or you're going to try and prevent some threats, which I'll present to you at the time, and you split yourselves up to try and work out what you do between those. And then there's the final finale. The final finale. There we go. How about that?
oh, that's pretty
It is
fun.
the final.
That's terminal, some might say. So there'll be the finale at that point to work out whether you succeed overall in the battle or not, or whether maybe the bad guys do, or there's some other worse outcome. So for the first part, you can use whatever domain you want. It depends on your narration. This is definitely going to be red alert, though, as literally, as Daniel sees you, he presses a crystal and the lights get a very red hue all of a sudden, and an alarm goes off. And there's vibrations in the water that you can feel as he starts to call all these minions and monsters to help him. And let's call it challenging, I think, as well, because it's quite challenging. So if you fail, you've got to mark equipment or gear or training as well.
And red alert is do you have pressure to go in, is it?
Pressure just training, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
And
sorry, just to get the scene, are we underwater at the moment still?
So as described, you are sort of underwater, but you notice that Daniel and all these men are walking around smoking cigarettes and stuff already. So there's a strange quality to it that means you're not drowned if you actually were.
Cool.
But yes, but there is a swimming ability that the dolphins have got because they're still, or call it flying, whatever you want to call it. But that's that. Okay, so target number is going to be 13 for this challenge.
Oof.
Boy, whoosh, that's hard work.
But it is any domain based on what you do.
They're bringing spatio-temporal distortions here.
I love the fact that you have spatio-temporal distortions.
I gambled on it coming up, so felt like that was.
This is really not Elsa's warehouse. I think naively she's going to start by just trying to calm the situation down by going out there and just, can we not talk about this? Basically, I'm going to roll in with a warmth in an attempt to get everybody to stop with what seems like a lead up to violence and use persuasive words to say, why don't we work together, understand this better? Surely that's got to lead to a better conclusion. That's my approach.
I was going to go a different way, but I'm going to follow Elsa's lead. I will go for. I'm going to go for subtlety. I'll probably bring curiosity as well, as I sort of. As I use Elsa as a distraction, I'm going to go and sort of have a look at the sort of control crystals and things around and see if I can't work out a way to manipulate things that are happening around us. I'm going to bring in my unexplained sea phenomenon as well, because that's what this feels like.
Yeah, it's similar to Douglas, but slightly different. I'm going to be using subtlety to swim around and use the dolphin hand signals that I've established. Bubbles understands them, and hopefully he's told all of his family about them to try and rally them to our cause. So bringing in warmth, because obviously I've got to appeal to these dolphins as well, and aquatic predators and prey, because they...
I'm going to bring in my bond with Elsa as well, because I'm using her as a distraction. So that's her name dice, isn't it? D8.
Thanks. D8, yeah. I will be using an extra point of pressure to bring in determination, because it feels like I have to achieve this, otherwise there's people going to get hurt.
I'm using determination. I'm trying to counter particularly Jeremy St. John Sr. head on and his lackeys. So I'm spending a bond with Jeremy St. John as well, from all that he's told me of his father.
Long rants late night about one of it is. Yeah.
Roll off.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
At least one of us made it.
Okay, so Jeremy's best. But yes, Hitesh, then Elsa are both going to suffer. So you can mark an extra pressure and just get one laureate. And then it is Douglas who gets 7. And then Jeremy's the one who gets the advantage die to use later in the conflict. So let's have a bit of narration around that. How do things go badly for Hitesh, first of all?
So I'm able to use my knowledge of these strange spaces and time distortions to run rings around a lot of Daniel's lackeys. So I'm feeling good about myself. I'm kind of, outmaneuvering them. And then I face down Jeremy St. John Sr. And I say to him, Jeremy, take it from me. You've got to stop. The more you start caring about all this stuff, the less time you'll start spending with your kids. Although maybe it's too late for you. But he cuts me off with just a punch to the face, and I'm just floored by his sudden aggression.
Indeed. That was going to have some extra bits, but it's good to laugh over that. Yeah, Elsa.
I think it's not dissimilar. I kind of go in there hoping to calm everybody down, and one of his, Aryan clones just kind of slaps me across the side of the face, and I go flying back and end up on the ground, holding my jaw, blood running from it, looking up with grim determination, mixed in with no small amount of fear.
Excellent. And then you were Douglas, wasn't it?
Douglas sneaks away from all the commotion in the middle, goes over to some of the control panels and manages to determine that some of them are basically linked to the dolphins around, or sort of communication with the dolphins, and sort of like gets in sync with what with Jeremy, and like gets ready to activate the dolphins effectively.
Yeah, pleased as Jeremy and Douglas's eyes meet, and we realise the distraction has worked perfectly from our fellow crewmen. Jeremy's swimming around to each dolphin. Each one he sort of like touches, and they share a moment. The eyes meet, and there's a little nod of understanding. Bubbles stops trying to just knock the column over, and without many of them moving, they're all sort of in formation, ready to charge and tackle it. Each turtleneck thug has got at least one dolphin sort of behind the column, ready to charge him and take him out. Yeah.
Ace. As you've done all this, what you haven't perhaps quite realised is, having released all the dense water gates and barriers, Jeremy's St. John Senior says, "Well, I guess I'll just have to prove my method over yours then, aren't I?" And what he's done is opened all the gates, and you see, as well as this huge ulcerous dolphin, there's now a giant shark that's mutated with its thousands of teeth. It's like, you remember the close-up from the panther shark in your documentary series when it came right up onto the camera with its hundreds of teeth, and the broken bottles you used to kind of like replicate it in your cosplay that you did. They said now it's blown large, and you realise that huge mouth is actually as big as it seems, but longer, far away. As soon as it gets near, it's going to devour you and everyone else. So the threats you've got to face, you can either seize, which is trying to set the terms for the final conflict, or you can stop a threat. So one of the threats that will definitely happen if you don't stop it is that the dolphins will be massacred. The mutated shark will eat all of the dolphins and or maim them. So that's dolphin apocalypse, I'm going to call it. That's one threat.
That sounds horrendous.
Another threat is that in the battle, with things going left, right, and centre, the strange technology will go out of control. So all kinds of unexplained things might happen, which might involve deaths or mutations or disappearances or any kind of other horrible outcome from this weird alien tech. And I'm going to have a third threat is that Daniel is going to, as a lesson to the rest of you, or as a method of trying to put you off, is going to kill one of the player characters as he pulls out his specialized graphite carbon harpoon gun, which he levels at one of you. And due to the way the camera angle works underwater, it looks like he's pointing at each of you. As you look, you all think it's you that is pointing at, but you can't quite tell if it is. There's the point of the camera above it's like swinging across all of you. So there's 3 threats this time, the big finale. It's dolphin apocalypse, strange technology going bananas, and Daniel killing a PC. And there's obviously the opportunity to seize as well, if you wish.
I feel like I should try and stop dolphin massacre.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
I'm at the technology, so I think I'm on that.
I'm going to try and stop him killing someone.
All right, it's up to me to seize, I guess.
Excellent.
Very good. Let me work out a target on fire. So it's still going to be red alert, but that's all I'll make it. Let's see what the target number is. Any domain? Target number of 9. Eminently achievable.
That's my last pressure to go into that. So no more bringing in things from me.
Okay, I've Jeremy in his head has already baited one jaguar shark, despite this shark being like the size we described it as. This is how big we said it was when we told that story. It's a lot bigger face to face. So he's going to try and swim out and try and draw it away from the dolphins, get its attention, and then try and try and distract it using his own body as a decoy.
Yeah,
yes.
Very good.
Elsa's kind of realised that she thinks that he's pointing the gun not at her but at Hitesh, and basically she's just going to charge at him, throw herself in the way, try to knock the carbon rifle aside, and give Hitesh a chance to overcome the situation. But yeah, basically, my concern is Hitesh is going to die, and I'll throw everything and anything at the situation to stop him from being killed.
Beautiful.
Douglas is going to try and bring the technology under his control, bringing in sort of. He's worked out that it's talking to the creatures somehow, so he's going to bring in his underwater cryptozoology, try and sort of control these creatures to sort of to bring them to bear against the threats that are happening, and bring the technology under his control.
In order to seize, I'm going to call upon my bond with Douglas, who is the closest thing we have to a good second opinion about whatever weird stuff is happening down here.
Fair.
And I did still bring explosives, which seemed like the perfect thing to seize and drive Daniel and his followers back up to the surface away from us.
I'm going to bring my bond with Jeremy as well. I think this is I want it to be determination, but it's really curiosity, I think.
I'm bringing my bond with Hitesh for reasons that should be very obvious.
Mm-hmm. And definitely, Alice, you've got the advantage die you can use now or later.
What's your name die, Guy?
D10.
D10.
As of 5 minutes ago.
Awesome. Good timing. Yes.
It's who has the advantage die, sorry?
I have it, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Oh, sorry, I thought it was attached. But
I'm going to save it, I think, for the final thing.
I think so.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
So I was worried for those dolphins.
Oh, boo. I mean, hooray. Back to our winning ways. Okay, so we're going in the order of the lowest is 10. So Elsa gets to describe her action first, then it's Douglas, then Jeremy, and then Hitesh.
So I think as he's pointing his gun, she sort of launches herself forward, grabbing a bit of kind of rubbery snorkel hose and just launching it at him, which catches him in the face. The shot goes off. There's a zing somewhere else in the massive chamber, but she manages to, in those final moments before he gets a chance to either reload or re-aim, she just elbows him, elbow charges him, and they both end up in a heap. The gun goes skittering away, probably disappearing underneath a stone structure or a piece of the environment.
Very good.
Douglas, while messing around with the technology, manages to make a sort of headset pop out of the console, and he wants it for himself, but he realizes that he'd be better in the hands of Jeremy, who's like trying to bring the dolphins under control. So he attaches it to the end of a little harpoon gun, fires it into a pillar near Jeremy, that he can, and it flies across the screen, whacks into pillar, and lies dangling there just within Jeremy's grasp.
Yeah, Jeremy picked this me next, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes,
I think so.
Cool.
Yep.
Sorry, just double check. So yeah, I grabbed the headset and then set off, like flailing my arms wildly. I might even like cut myself to get a bit of blood in the water as this huge shark follows through some narrowing caves. It just gets to a point where he realizes he's going to have to sort of turn around and try and trap it, but the shark's clearly going to follow him. He's not got enough of a lead on him, and he spins around and starts swimming through the narrow things, looks back and sees it might just be a mirage of Gaz in his snorkel gear as the shark goes for him, and suddenly we're back on the beach with him running around with the shells as the shark and then turns around, but it gets trapped in this cave, and he swims back to all the dolphins looking worried.
Wonderful. Hitesh.
My successful roll puts me one glory away from upgrading my name dice just before the final conflict, which is very funny, but there we are. That's how the dice go. So Hitesh, thankfully, is able to kind of use his knowledge both of caves and of strange time and space distortions to basically trap quite a lot of Daniel's, lackeys by causing little explosions that cut them off and mean they can't get to us. So it means there won't be quite as many of them in the, because God knows how many there are. There won't be quite as many of them in the conflict to come. And then finally, he kind of turns a corner or makes his way up and down a strange staircase to see Jeremy St. John Sr. again for another showdown. And he says, I may be out of little quips and jokes, my friend, but thankfully I'm not out of weapons. And I've got this strange sort of disc-like bomb that I throw up that weirdly whizzes up and through the water and causes a rock slide. But it somehow causes a bigger explosion than I was expecting and causes some kind of rock fall. And Jeremy St. John Sr. kind of disappears in a footfall of rocks. So I have to get on the radio to Jeremy and I say, Jeremy, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure if your father's all right. We might have to, let's deal with this first. And oh my God, I don't know what I've done.
Unconcerned reports from Jeremy.
Amazing. And so we come to the final conflict then. So what domain will it be for finale, and what are the stakes here?
I think it feels right for us to just face this problem head on, but that is also, I think, probably the slightly power gamey move, because I think we're good at determination as a group, but I am going to pick determination.
Speak for yourself. I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, I think everyone else is good at it. I'm sorry to say, Matt. But it feels right as well that we're going to just face this, I guess, probably face down this giant shark and Daniel and God knows what else head on.
You've wanted to deal with Daniel from the outset, so yeah.
We haven't even had a proper chance to speak to him yet.
So
it's going to feed him to the shark.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Is it to put an end to the experiments for good then? Is it? Or
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
That's the kind of thing we're going for. Okay. If you fail, then I'm going to suggest that means that Daniel's got away with some amount of tech or some schematics or something that will allow it at some point to kind of resurface. Fine. All good. It's still red alert, as you might imagine. I'm going to suggest, yeah, this is probably challenging as well. So it's more gear and training if you fail. You have to spend the pressure to join in. And I'm going to throw in my extra villain dice now, just to see if that's just the numbers.
This is it, right?
I just took a new barotrauma, but got a boon, so all good.
Nice.
There may be another roll or two at the end for getting out, but as far as the battle goes, this is it. So, determination was said, and just target number 9.
So Jeremy's using his planning that he's brought along, which it involves various sort of schematics that he's looked at, given his new interests, which probably do include several maps of Atlantis, which he's going to use to try and entrap this shark. Obviously, he's still got the D10 advantage dice as well, as he tries to maybe overcome this shark and use it against the various Daniel Galwaz people.
Douglas is going to try and sort of connect with the dolphins through these consoles and see if we can get them to take down some of Daniel's men, give us a bit of an advantage as we get out of here.
Very good.
So Elsa's going to try and deal with Daniel. She got him a good hook in the face with a bit of scuba gear. He's down on the ground, and she's going to she's now blaming Daniel for all the stuff, the shit that Hitesh has had to put up with, right? It feels to her like maybe Hitesh's own obsession with Daniel, dealing with Daniel, is something which has taken Hitesh away from her. Now she's got him back. She's not losing him again. So I'm actually going to use my final bond with Hitesh as to sort of make this about him and beat Daniel to the ground and get him out of our life for good. Not kill him, as far as I'm concerned anyway, but teach him the kind of lesson that one doesn't come back from.
Yeah, I'm spending my bond with Elsa because I'm going to help, but as much as anything, Hitesh is also going to try and make sure Elsa doesn't do something that she later comes to regret.
Oof.
Jeremy.
Blimey.
Okay.
Okay. Douglas gets to tell us how things go badly. Elsa's winning. Hitesh is helping. And Jeremy is the ultimate victor. So, at the start of this particular segment of the episode, when we come back from the ad break, and it's the big finale, how does Douglas make things worse?
Well, Douglas is trying to connect to the dolphins, trying to get into work for him, but what he's actually managed to do is tell the shark which way's out of the little cavern that he's been previously trapped in. So the shark just sort of bursts through one of the walls of this place we're in, and it's heading right for Douglas.
No. Elsa.
So yeah, I think it's as described. Really, she's sort of sitting on him, beating him into the, and this is for Hitesh. And this is that time that you made us do this. And we don't care about the fact that you saved this. You did this for yourself. And finally ends up just sort of knocking him unconscious until I think it probably requires Hitesh to pull her off and kind of grab her and say enough. And then because Elsa's not a violent person, so she realizes, looking at her bloody knuckles, that she's probably gone further than she would have done. And she's glad, as she is pretty much all the time, that Hitesh is there.
Yeah, Hitesh is kind of holding Elsa. It's half a wrestle and half a hug to kind of get her off Daniel. And he said, Elsa, stop. He's just a kid. He's still just a kid. I look down at Daniel and I say, Daniel made some mistakes, but so did I. You're making it too easy by making this his fault. It was I was the one who was selfish and made mistakes. And I'm the one who's done the harm here. Let's get Daniel out of it. He doesn't deserve to die down here. God knows where he'll go after this is over. And I just hope that Jeremy's going to be able to deal with that shark. Because the three of them kind of make their way up through the depths towards the surface.
Cool.
Okay, Jeremy puts the headset on and is furiously trying to organise the dolphins to get them to go this way and that, but it's just not working. The sharks ripping him to shreds. Not as many as were at risk before, obviously, just a few of the weakest ones, and they're probably still okay. They'll probably get patched up when we get them back to the ship. But then he sort of flicks a few buttons on it and realizes it's not the dolphins that he's able to communicate with, it's the shark. And so he just sees it through the shark's eyes, and as this huge maw comes towards him and is about to eat him, it just opens and then shuts. And then as their eyes meet, it just sort of turns away and begins, like, swims out of the cave. We begin to see it going upstream, well, into the loch.
Against the current, yeah.
It's against the current, into Loch Ness, maybe.
Yeah.
Where it's going to make its home as it's been freed finally from this. And he sort of shakes himself, takes the headset off and looks around at, I'm imagining, the now sort of crumbling sea caves about to fall about him.
Indeed, and you must all make a dash for the exit as best you can. It's at this moment when the return of, maybe they've been saving the CGI budget for this last episode, but from episode 1, the hyper-intelligent octopus friend you made, Tamagotchi, unpeels himself from the back of the submarine and says, "Thank you, friends, for bringing me home," and goes over to the controls. I'll try and keep everything together until you can get out with his 8 arms, like using all these different crystals as the whole place is.
As he comes past Douglas and does that, Douglas is like, that's why this is so hard to control.
With your 2 arms, what were you doing? So I think we're going to have one last challenge to see who makes it out or who doesn't, or perhaps what scars you'll take away from you when you get out. I don't really want to say determination, but I think I can feel the way this is going. So unless you convince me otherwise, Elsa's actually the leader, so you can tell me if you think there's a different thing you should use.
No, I think it's absolutely right. I mean, we need courage, speed, tenacity to get out of here alive right now if it's collapsing around us. So determination, absolutely.
Okay, and I'm going to try and make it tricky. I'll not say it's red alert or anything, it's just a straight roll, and I'm not sure this macro works how it should, but let's try it out. Determination.
Oof.
15. There we go. Now it's working.
Here we go.
Oh, I've got nothing in the tank. I'm just going to have to roll what I've got.
Pretty much I'm the same, yeah.
I'm going to bring in both my areas of research because that's what we're dealing with here.
So
well, I've got shipwrecks, and I figure that those places are dangerous, and you need to get out of them. So that definitely use that
for sure. I mean, as described, you will all get out. It's just, you know, what condition you're in or what long-lasting effects there might be from there.
Yeah, one of the chapters of The Age of Sail was about a sort of pirate ship that was shipwrecked in a collapsing cave, and describes the daredevil escape that they make from it. I'm imagining that's worth a D6, probably. The way I'm going for it. I'm already convincing myself it's a terrible idea, but I'm going to use it.
But Douglas is trying to work alongside our octopus friend to get us all out, potentially staying behind to make sure everyone else gets out. we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, Tamagotchi said, "Oh, normally there's 2 of us. You need 16 arms for this job." As he's dashing about trying to do all stuff.
I'm spending my last pressure to bring in warmth with my dolphin brethren. That they'll help me to get out as well.
I'm spending my one bond with Douglas. I think I'm going to flash back to us having that extra dram of scotch in the bar a few days ago, and him telling me about the leadership courses he's been running and how in moments of crisis you've got to center yourself and do what's true and be yourself and show true courage, because the only way you'll see yourself through life. And I kind of reflecting on that and I go, right, I'm going to go for this. Thank you, Douglas, for giving me those words of wisdom.
Sounds ace. Ooh. All kinds of different numbers going up.
Oh, not even close.
It's a brave effort.
I think he was drunk when he told me those words. I don't know what it was. Something.
Well, it's a big pyramid scheme he runs. So
Really,
All right, so we're gonna have Elsa, and then Jeremy, and then Douglas are all suffering, and then Hitesh might be the one that gets you all out, or maybe leads by example. We'll leave that up to Alex to tell us. So, Elsa, how do things affect you?
So I think, I mean, she's going to get out, but I think you have to come back and get her out. She, as it comes down around her, I can well imagine that she gets hit by boulders and bits of collapsing architecture around. A bit of column comes down and essentially crushes her leg. So I'm caught, struggling underwater, trapped here until someone can come back and get me.
Very good, Jeremy.
I think as I rally my dolphin brethren, the problem is that I can't leave a dolphin behind at this moment. And I think Bubbles stays a little bit too long, and Jeremy turns back. We see the oxygen dial on his scuba gear, just into the red. So he takes like one big last gulp, and is like pushing the wounded Bubbles up, trying to get him. This position has been reversed many times, but we see his head start to swim literally as he loses breath, as he's glances back and sees Elsa and thinks maybe this is it. Maybe this is where he's going to perish in the caves.
Above the subtitles over the dolphin squeak, he's like, "No, leave me behind, Jeremy. It's not worth it." You don't know what he's squeaking.
Douglas takes a moment to reflect, to be calm, and realizes that he needs to stay in order to let everyone else get out to help our octopus friend to control what's going on here and to control the collapse. And so he's working frantically to try and sort of keep things as stable as possible for as long as he can, to send help to any of his friends that he can. But he's decided to stay. He might meet Nessie in the end.
Maybe there's that dark shape in the back there. Maybe that's Nessie. Okay, Hitesh.
There's a flash of hope in Hitesh's eyes. He looks up and sees one of his beloved underwater caves where there's light coming from up there that might well lead them all through to the surface. But then horribly, with a feeling that makes his stomach drop, another kind of distortion down here collapses that rock, leaving them with no visible way out. And Hitesh kind of turns. And he says, "Who knows who he is in this strange place? Maybe it's time to enter the fourth dimension one last time." And suddenly the space drops and shifts and changes, and he's looking through a long kind of rocky corridor, and he says, "Once, my friend, we all saved you, but now I'm afraid that we're going to have to call in that favor." And Gaz Taylor from beyond time steps through to save us, and somehow he pilots his now sunken shipwrecked ship, which will forever dwell at the bottom of the ocean, loads Elsa, Jeremy St. John, Hitesh, and the dolphins onto it, and in the chaos they all look down, I think, and see their companion Douglas down there, who's given them the opportunity to escape as they sail upwards to the surface.
And the screen goes black. The credits start to roll. You think, is that it? It can't possibly be it. And then you get the extra scenes you get as the credits start to come up of what's happened to our characters. So let's go around one last time. And maybe it's very far in the future. Maybe it's Hitesh and Elsa's grandkids that we see now. Maybe it's the reuniting of Jeremy St. John with Senior, or maybe he perished down there, who knows? Perhaps we're looking at the niece and nephew of the McIntosh clan. Or maybe Douglas did find a way out. Maybe rescued by Tamagotchi or some other fashion. Who knows? It's not for me to decide. It's for my players. So let's go around, and I think what my original starting order was, but I'm just going to say an order. We'll stick with that. So, Guy, if you want to go first, then we'll have Matt, then Alex, and then Ian, you can finish off.
Yeah, I think that we hear some cheesy sort of nautical theme music, and the credits roll, and a prawn in every port has the series has finally been made properly. This is like season 2, and it's Jeremy St. John. It opens, it's him on this like beach barbecue with it, and he's saying, "I've got a very special guest today, a legendary naval explorer, and also my father, Jeremy St. John Senior." And it just cuts to him saying this steak is overdone. It's terrible. It's terrible. as season 2 is filmed as like a father and son cooking adventure, with lots of sort of banter and ripping each other out and arguing as we go through, and that, as we see the greatest hits of that.
I love this stuff.
I think we just see Elsa sitting in a chair, comfortable chair, surrounded by other people, though we don't really see who she's sitting with, if any, in a big auditorium in Stockholm. And there is a 20-something Eva who is receiving her doctorate in temporal mechanics. And she sort of throws her cap into the air with the rest of the successful PhD students, and holding her certificate high. Clearly, Eva wanted her to go into marine biology or perhaps even maritime history, but this rogue daughter of hers has been led for the last 20 years by her father's inspiration.
Very good.
I think we see maybe a very similar time. We see Hitesh and Elsa and their kids, adults now, all of them, surrounding them at some old-timey London maritime club. Hitesh's hand is firmly grasped in Elsa's as they sit together, their love obvious. But Hitesh has just cut into a conversation between some young bucks who are all kind of talking down about an perhaps almost forgotten sea explorer who, embraced nonsense and chased myths and fantasies. And Hitesh says, well, let me tell you about Douglas McIntosh, my friends, for my wife and I here were very lucky enough to know him personally. We're on a vessel together, the four of us, and we saw strange things you wouldn't believe, things you'll never know. And myself and my wife and our friend Jeremy, we all went through some strange times, some emotionally challenging times, shall we say. We doubted who we were and what we were doing. And that man, Douglas, was always there for us. The lighthouse in the storm, a rock that we could always rely upon. He loved the ocean. He loved strange, horrible monsters. He loved whiskey. But more than anything, he loved his friends. And you would do well to learn from his example. And I turn to Elsa and look her in the eyes, and we cut away.
She's probably crying in reflection, thinking about those great times and how she still has a love of whiskey after all these years.
A couple of years later, it's the wedding anniversary of Hitesh and Elsa. Jeremy's there as well. Everyone's having an excellent time, and late into the evening, they're in Jeremy's house, but a fairly grand house. The book's gone well, the TV series gone well. He's made his money, and suddenly all the lights go out, and there's a sort of like a stumbling walk sounds through the corridors. And as the lights come up again, you see Douglas standing there, a crystal where one of his eyes, a crystal in his right eye, a scar down his cheek, a strange staff in his right hand. And he says, "My friends, Atlantis needs you."
Amazing stuff.
Cheers.
Thank you, everybody. Amazing times. And I hope
Awesome.
you watching at home enjoyed it as well. That's going to be our run. That's our finale for Odyssey Aquatica. Obviously, we'll start up a run of something else. And we've got our one-shots. If you enjoyed it, please do share with your friends, like and subscribe to help with the algorithms. And we will see you next time, maybe with this cast, maybe different, maybe a mix-up, who knows, on Unconventional GMs. But bye for now.